My friend, each time we witness a loved one pass away is each time we feel heartbroken, weighed down with sorrow, because from now on, we will never again be able to see that beloved person in this world. A deep bond built over so many years, from the habit of living close together, from the love and care we gave one another, from every success or failure having that person beside us, sharing the weight. And now that loved one has firmly gone away, meaning they have died. The body lies there stiff and still, but the soul, the living force of that person, where has it gone? This question, in ordinary days, we rarely think about, but when we face this loss, that question fills our mind with so many doubts, worries, and restless pain. So today, let us look together at where a human being comes from, and after death, whether a human life has truly ended completely, or whether there is something else beneath the surface. And we will look at this through the theme, reincarnation in Buddhism. What is reincarnation? Literally, lun means to revolve, to turn. Hoi means to return, to come back. Lun can also mean a circle, a wheel. Reincarnation in Sanskrit is samsara, the turning, the rising and falling, the unbroken continuation of many lives. This continual turning is often symbolized by a wheel and is called the wheel of samsara. We can imagine the wheel of samsara as a circle, where human birth and death keep repeating on that circle, never stopping. And because of that, we will not know where the beginning point is, nor where the ending point is.
So it goes. That wheel of birth and death keeps turning, submerging human beings in an ocean of suffering from one life to the next, until, through practice, one reaches the ultimate light of awakening and is freed from this cycle. In the world, most religious traditions speak in some way about rebirth, but each tradition understands it differently. In Buddhism, when the Buddha realized the three knowledges, the knowledge of past lives, the divine I, and the ending of defilements, these knowledges answered the question, where do human beings come from? And after death, where do they go? And they also revealed why human beings must undergo the round of birth and death. Through this direct realization, the Buddha understood that samsara is a plain, evident truth. It applies to all beings, leaving no one out. This truth was not something the Buddha imagined, it was something he awakened to, saw clearly, and knew to be present in this world from beginningless and endless time. Beginningless and endless means infinite, with no starting point and no ending point. It describes an unbroken, timeless existence, not limited by time or space, even before the Buddha appeared in this world. The knowledge of past lives is a clear wisdom that knows countless past lifetimes of the Buddha's present existence. This realization confirms that human life continues through rebirth. In the Jataka stories, it is recorded that the Buddha saw clearly, remembered clearly countless previous lives, who he was, where he was born, and what he did.
And the question, where do human beings come from, was illuminated through the divine I, that human beings are born through the force of karma, according to the principle of interdependent cause and effect. Where there is a cause, there is a result. When this exists, that exists. When this arises, that arises. When this does not exist, that does not exist. When this ceases, that ceases. The divine I is a bright, awakened vision that sees in detail the past and the future of beings. He saw beings die in one place and be reborn in another within the 6 realms: heavenly beings, humans, hell beings,
hungry ghosts, animals, and asuras. He saw the process of rebirth as clearly as someone standing on a high tower, looking down at a crossroads, watching people come and go below. So, death is not the end. Beings are led by karma to take birth within the 6 realms of samsara. And on that final night, in the 3rd watch, beneath the Bodhi tree, the Buddha realized the knowledge of the ending of defilements. Defilements are what is unwholesome and tainted: greed, anger, delusion, also called karma, wholesome or unwholesome causes accumulated over many lives within the human mind. Ending means bringing them to a complete stop, meaning the Buddha knew clearly the reason beings must undergo the cycle of birth and death. And if one wishes to be freed from samsara, one must practice and completely uproot these defilements. In short, because the mind was perfectly settled and spiritual wisdom shone bright, he could remember everything across countless past lives.
What the Buddha realized is difficult for an ordinary mind to grasp. Yet we cannot help but place trust in the Buddha's teachings, because more than 2,600 years ago, the Buddha declared things that ordinary eyes could not see, and today science has verified through the microscope. He said that in a cup of water there are 84,000 tiny organisms. And about space, he said that beyond that vast sky, there are countless worlds, beyond measure. Later, as he taught the Dhamma, the Buddha explained rebirth to beings. He taught that the reason human beings undergo the cycle of birth and death from one life to the next is something they bring about themselves, not because any god or creator interferes in it. The actions, words, and thoughts, wholesome or unwholesome, the cravings and addictions accumulated over many lives, carried into this life, continuing to be reinforced, are all called karma. That karma is the cause, and when there is a cause, a result will ripen. And because of that, after death, a person is still reborn to receive wholesome results from wholesome causes made before, or to experience painful results from unwholesome causes, unwholesome karma.
And here, there is something very important, so we do not understand rebirth through fear. In Buddhism, rebirth is not a story to frighten anyone, not a fixed sentence of destiny. Rebirth is a reminder that life moves according to cause, conditions, and results, and what we do today truly carries weight. In other words, if samsara is a wheel, then the direction of that wheel is shaped by what we are doing right now. So, walk for peace is not only a journey on a long road, it is a way of living. Each step is a return to the breath, a return to the present, a return to what we can do right now. And this is the place we can touch without needing to understand the entire universe. When we grieve the loss of a loved one, the hardest part is not only acceptance. It is the feeling that life has been cut in two. Yesterday, they were still here. Today, they are gone. And in that moment, do not rush to force yourself to be strong. Do not rush to force yourself to forget. We only need to learn one small thing, to set it down, little by little. You can try a very short practice, just 3 minutes. Breathing in, I know I am hurting. Breathing out, I allow this pain, but I do not let it drag me away. Breathing in, love is still here. Breathing out, I will live kindly for the one who has passed. In the spirit of Buddhism, we do not have to be certain where they are, but we can do something more certain, live wholesomely, to create good conditions for ourselves
and for the ones we love. Many people hear dedication of merit and think it must be complicated rituals, but the heart of dedicating merit is taking wholesome deeds as energy and directing the mind to offer it. You can begin in very ordinary ways. A gentle sentence instead of a harsh reply. A day of reducing harm, reducing injury. Helping someone who is tired. A bottle of water, a simple meal, a small offering. And before sleep, simply whisper, "May I dedicate this goodness to my loved one who has passed." Walk for peace is the same. Walking through one stretch of road, receiving a cup of water from a stranger, a wave, a smile. All of it can become wholesome causes if we keep a grateful heart and live with kindness. Rebirth is not a vague imagination. The teaching of rebirth embraces the whole universe. In this universe are human beings and all things. In general, whatever appears in this world moves within the turning of samsara. Like the great Earth spinning on its axis in space. The side facing the sun is bright, the hidden side is dark. That is why there is day and night. This turning from light to darkness, from darkness to light, without pause, is the rebirth of light and shadow, of day and night. Because the earth shifts nearer and farther in relation to the sun, people divide time into 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. The changing cycle of the 4 seasons continues without stopping. That is the rebirth of the seasons. Look at the life of trees as well. From a seed falling to the ground, when conditions are enough, it sprouts into a young plant. The young plant grows, flowers, bears fruit. When the fruit ripens and falls, the seeds separate, and when conditions are right, a new tree grows again. That is the cycle of a tree. River water, ocean waves as well. Water warmed by the sun becomes vapor. Vapor cools and becomes clouds. Clouds meet wind and fall as rain. Water rises again as vapor. Turning like this, water also has its own cycle. And when we speak of human beings, the cycle is even clearer. The Buddha taught that a human being has 2 aspects: name and mind, and form. Form is matter. Name and mind is the mental side, the mind. The body is made from 4 elements: earth, water, wind, fire. Hard parts like skin, flesh, tendons, bones, hair, teeth, nails belong to earth. Blood, pus, sweat, tears belong to water. The in and out breath belongs to wind. The warmth of the body belongs to fire. When these 4 are not in harmony, we become ill. If one is missing, we cannot live. And when a person dies, earth, water, wind, and fire dissolve back into nature. They do not disappear. So the material side also has its own cycle. As for name and mind, as for the heart, the mind changes without rest. Sometimes joyful, sometimes sorrowful, sometimes loving, sometimes hating, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. When joy arises, that is birth. When joy ends, that is cessation. When a thought arises, that is birth. When the thought ends, that is cessation. Arising and ceasing, ceasing and arising again. This is called the mind's arising and ceasing, and we can also see it as the mind's samsara. In general, all worldly phenomena come together and fall apart because conditions decide them. Water, by the condition of heat, becomes vapor. by the condition of cold becomes ice. For human beings, the Buddha affirmed that we revolve in samsara because of defilements. As long as defilements remain, birth and death remain. When defilements end, the cycle ends. Defilements, or karma, are the causes that lead to rebirth. Defilements are taints, cravings and addictions, wrong thoughts that lead to actions harming oneself and others. These tendencies are conditioned in the mind over many lives, and in this life they continue to grow through body, speech, and mind. Whatever we create, wholesome or unwholesome, over time becomes karma. There are two kinds of karma, wholesome and unwholesome. Wholesome karma is thought, speech, and action that bring peace and well-being to oneself and others. Keeping the body pure, not killing, not harming people or animals, not stealing, not sexual misconduct. Keeping the speech pure, not lying, not using cruel words, not dividing people, not idle fabrication. Keeping the mind pure, not feeding unwholesome thoughts, not greed, not anger, not delusion. Unwholesome karma is the opposite. It brings anxiety and suffering to oneself and creates pain for others. Karma itself is an abstract idea. It has no shape, yet it has the power to pull us through every path in samsara. The more karma we create, the longer we store it, the stronger its force becomes. This is called karmic force. But please remember this so the listener does not misunderstand. Karma is not a sentence. Karma is habit, tendency, choices repeated again and again. So, changing karma is not something mystical. Changing karma is changing our reactions, changing our speech, changing what we feed in the mind each day. A long journey does not change in one leap. It changes step by step. The mind is the same. And this is where walk for peace becomes a living practice. When your mind runs, when grief, fear, and questions pull you away, you do not need to argue with the mind. You only need to hold it, gently, with your feet. You can try the practice of 10 steps. Walk slowly for 10 steps. The first 5, only know walking. The next 5, pair with the breath. 2 steps breathing in, 3 steps breathing out, as you can. If the mind runs, simply return to the feeling of the soles touching the ground. That is how the teaching comes down into daily life. No need to be lofty, no need to be perfect, only to be real. And finally, we return to where the question began. When a loved one passes, we suffer because we think, I will never see them again. In Buddhism, death is not a period for despair. It is a reminder that life is impermanent, so every moment we still have each other is precious. And if samsara is a wheel, then the most important thing is not guessing what the next life will be. It is how we are living right now. You do not need to understand the whole universe. You only need to begin with one small thing. Be a little gentler, speak a little softer, cause a little less suffering. And when you miss the one who has passed, turn that longing into one wholesome act. The most beautiful way to send someone off is not to cry forever in helplessness. It is to live so that each day you live becomes a dedication of goodness. And if you do not know where to begin with the simplest thing that Walk for Peace does every day. Breathing in, I am still here. Breathing out, I choose to keep walking, to walk in peace. May you always be peaceful in a world of many storms. May you receive blessings from the Buddha's teachings. Namo Buddha.